If you're over 60 and you still think all bread is the same, I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes because this might be one of the most important conversations we've ever had on this channel. I'm serious. The bread you eat every single day could either be quietly aging you faster, inflaming your joints, spiking your blood sugar, and draining your energy, or it could actually support your digestion, protect your heart, stabilize your glucose, and help you feel lighter and stronger as the years go by. And here's the scary part. Most people over 60 are eating the worst possible bread without even realizing it. It looks healthy. It's marketed as whole grain. It sits right there on the grocery shelf next to the good stuff, but it's doing damage every time you eat it. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 4 worst breads you should never touch after 60, and then I'll show you the 4 types of bread you actually should be eating regularly if you want better energy, better digestion, and better aging overall. And trust me, one of these will shock you because it's often labeled as healthy, but it's one of the biggest problems I see in older adults. Now, before we go any further, I want you to understand something important. This is not about fear. This is not about never enjoying food again. And this is definitely not about perfection. This is about awareness. Because once you understand what bread does to the aging body, you can make smarter choices without feeling restricted. And that's exactly what I want for you. Let's talk about the first bread you should never touch after 60. And this one is probably sitting in your kitchen right now, white bread. Traditional white bread made from refined wheat flour. This is one of the worst things you can put into an aging body. And I know some people say, I've been eating white bread my whole life and I'm fine. But here's the truth. Your body at 30 is not the same as your body at 60. As we age, insulin sensitivity naturally declines. Digestion slows down, inflammation becomes easier to trigger, and white bread is basically pure glucose once it hits your bloodstream. It has no fiber to slow absorption, no meaningful nutrients to support digestion, and no protective compounds to help your gut. It spikes blood sugar fast, forces your pancreas to pump out insulin, and over time, that contributes to insulin resistance, belly fat, fatigue, and even memory issues. I've seen so many older adults complain about energy crashes, brain fog, and stubborn weight gain, and when we look at their diet, white bread is almost always part of the picture. But it's not just about blood sugar. White bread also feeds inflammation. Refined flour lacks the antioxidants and minerals that help calm the immune system. So instead of supporting your joints and muscles, it quietly aggravates them. That stiffness you feel in the morning, those achy knees, that sore lower back, white bread doesn't help. It makes it worse. Now let's move to the second bread you should avoid completely after 60, and this one is sneaky. Commercial whole wheat bread. Yes, I said it. Just because a package says whole wheat doesn't mean it's good for you. Many of these breads are made with refined flour first, then a small amount of whole wheat flour is added back in, along with caramel coloring to make it look darker and healthier. On top of that, they're loaded with preservatives, vegetable oils, added sugars, and dough conditioners that your gut simply does not like. For an older digestive system, this is a recipe for bloating, gas, acid reflux, and poor nutrient absorption. Another issue with commercial whole wheat bread is gluten structure. Highly processed wheat is very different from traditional wheat. The gluten is aggressive, hard to digest, and inflammatory for many people over 60, even if they don't think they're gluten sensitive. I've seen people remove this bread alone, and suddenly their digestion improves, their joints feel better, and their energy goes up. That's not a coincidence. The third bread you need to stop eating after 60 is bread made with added sugars and sweeteners. This includes honey wheat bread, oat bread with sugar, multigrain bread with corn syrup, and even some rye breads that sneak sugar into the ingredient list. These breads are marketed as hearty and healthy, but they act more like dessert than real food. Every time you eat them, you're feeding blood sugar spikes, increasing inflammation, and encouraging fat storage, especially around the abdomen. And abdominal fat after 60 is not just cosmetic, it's strongly linked to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and hormonal imbalance. Sugar also feeds harmful gut bacteria. As we age, gut diversity naturally declines, and sugary breads push things in the wrong direction. Instead of supporting a strong microbiome, they weaken it, making digestion and immunity worse over time. Now let's talk about the fourth bread you should never touch after 60, and this one surprises a lot of people. Gluten-free bread made from refined starches. Just because something is gluten-free does not mean it's healthy. Many gluten-free breads are made with rice flour, potato starch, tapioca starch, and corn starch. These ingredients break down into sugar even faster than white bread. They have almost no fiber, no protein, and very little nutritional value. For someone over 60, these breads can spike blood sugar even more aggressively than regular wheat bread. I've seen people switch to gluten-free bread thinking they're doing something good, only to experience worse energy, more cravings, and even higher blood sugar readings. So if those are the breads you should avoid, what should you eat instead? This is where things get exciting because bread doesn't have to be the enemy. In fact, the right bread can actually support healthy aging. Let's start with the first bread you should be eating regularly after 60, and that is true sourdough bread made with traditional fermentation. Real sourdough, not the fake stuff with vinegar added. Authentic sourdough is fermented for hours or even days, which breaks down gluten, reduces phytic acid, and makes minerals like magnesium and zinc more absorbable. For older adults, this is huge. It means easier digestion, less bloating, and better nutrient absorption. The fermentation process also lowers the glycemic impact, so it doesn't spike blood sugar the way regular bread does. Many people who think they're sensitive to bread find they tolerate real sourdough beautifully. It supports gut bacteria, feels lighter in the stomach, and provides sustained energy instead of crashes. When you choose sourdough, look for simple ingredients: flour, water, salt, and starter. That's it. The second bread you should include regularly after 60 is sprouted grain bread. Sprouted grains are soaked and allowed to germinate before being milled into flour. This process dramatically improves digestibility and nutrient availability. Sprouted grain bread is higher in protein, higher in fiber, and easier on blood sugar. It also contains enzymes that support digestion, which is incredibly helpful as stomach acid naturally declines with age. Another benefit of sprouted grain bread is satiety. You feel full longer, which helps prevent overeating and constant snacking. For weight management, stable energy, and muscle preservation, this kind of bread is far superior to anything made from refined flour. The third bread you should be eating after 60 is rye bread, but only real rye bread. Traditional rye, especially European-style rye, is dense, high in fiber, and has a very low glycemic impact. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria and helps regulate appetite hormones. Studies have shown that rye can improve insulin sensitivity and support heart health, which becomes increasingly important as we age. Rye bread also supports regular digestion. If constipation has become an issue, this can be a gentle and natural solution without relying on laxatives or fiber supplements. The fourth bread you should absolutely include after 60 is seed-based bread. These breads are made primarily from seeds like flaxseed, chia, sunflower, and pumpkin seeds. They're naturally gluten-free, but unlike refined gluten-free bread, they're rich in fiber, healthy fats, and plant-based protein. Seed breads support blood sugar balance, reduce inflammation, and provide essential nutrients like omega-3s and magnesium, which are critical for joint health, heart health, and brain function. Many people notice improved digestion, less bloating, and better energy when they switch to seed-based bread. It's dense, satisfying, and deeply nourishing. Now, here's something I really want you to hear. You don't need to eat a lot of bread to get benefits. Quality matters far more than quantity. 1 or 2 slices of the right bread can support your health far better than multiple slices of the wrong kind. And timing matters too. Bread is best eaten with protein and healthy fats to slow digestion and support stable blood sugar. If you've been feeling tired, bloated, inflamed, or frustrated with your health after 60, don't underestimate the impact of something as simple as bread. Small changes done consistently can create powerful results over time. And I want you to remember this. Aging well isn't about giving things up. It's about choosing better versions. When you choose bread that supports your body instead of fighting it, everything starts to feel easier. Your energy improves. Your digestion calms down. Your body feels like it's working with you, not against you. If this video helped you see bread differently, make sure you like it, share it with someone over 60 who still thinks all bread is the same, and subscribe to the channel because we talk about real practical changes that actually make a difference in how you feel every day. And in the next video, I'm going to reveal one common breakfast food that looks healthy but is quietly accelerating aging in people over 60. You don't want to miss that. Choosing the right bread daily can support brain function, heart health, and energy without eliminating carbs. And this is something I really want you to understand deeply, especially if you're over 60 and you've been told for years that carbs are the enemy. They're not. The real enemy is low-quality, overly processed carbohydrates that your body no longer knows how to handle the way it did decades ago. When you reach your 60s, your brain, heart, muscles, and digestive system all change in subtle but important ways, and bread becomes either a quiet helper or a silent saboteur, depending on what you choose. The brain, for example, still needs glucose to function properly. Memory, focus, reaction time, and even mood depend on a steady, reliable supply of fuel. The problem is that most breads deliver glucose like a sudden explosion instead of a steady flame. Refined bread floods the bloodstream with sugar, the brain gets a short burst of energy, and then it crashes. That crash is what many people describe as brain fog, forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, or that strange feeling of mental fatigue that shows up in the afternoon. When you switch to bread that digests slowly, bread that still contains fiber, minerals, and natural structure, the brain receives a more even flow of energy. This supports neurotransmitter activity, protects memory centers, and reduces oxidative stress that accelerates cognitive decline. As we age, the blood vessels that supply the brain also become more sensitive to inflammation and blood sugar spikes. Poor bread choices contribute directly to this problem by damaging the lining of blood vessels, increasing insulin resistance, and promoting chronic low-grade inflammation. Over time, this reduces blood flow to the brain and affects mental sharpness. Choosing bread that doesn't spike blood sugar helps maintain healthy circulation, allowing oxygen and nutrients to reach brain tissue more efficiently. This is one reason people often notice clearer thinking and better focus when they stop eating refined bread and replace it with traditionally prepared options. It's not magic, it's physiology responding to less stress and better fuel. Heart health is another area where bread choice matters far more than most people realize. After 60, the heart becomes less forgiving of repeated blood sugar surges and inflammatory triggers. Each spike in glucose increases oxidative stress, stiffens arteries, and raises triglycerides. Over time, this contributes to plaque buildup and reduced elasticity in blood vessels. The right bread, however, works in the opposite direction. Fiber-rich bread helps lower LDL cholesterol, supports healthy blood pressure, and improves insulin sensitivity. Soluble fiber binds excess cholesterol in the digestive tract and helps remove it from the body instead of allowing it to circulate and damage arteries. When you eat bread that still contains its natural fiber, you're not just feeding yourself, you're protecting your cardiovascular system in a very practical way. Another often overlooked benefit is how better bread supports the heart indirectly through the gut. The gut microbiome plays a massive role in heart health, especially in older adults. Certain gut bacteria produce compounds that protect blood vessels and reduce inflammation, while others promote arterial damage. The type of bread you eat feeds one group or the other. Highly refined bread feeds harmful bacteria that produce inflammatory, toxic byproducts, while fiber-rich, fermented, or seed-based breads nourish beneficial bacteria that create short-chain fatty acids. These compounds help regulate blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and improve overall cardiovascular resilience. This is one of those hidden connections that modern nutrition rarely talks about, but becomes incredibly important with age. Energy is another area where people often feel forced into extremes. They either eat bread and feel tired, or they cut out carbs completely and feel weak, drained, or irritable. Neither approach is ideal. The body over 60 still relies on carbohydrates for efficient energy production, especially for the brain and muscles. What changes is how quickly and aggressively those carbohydrates should enter the system. When you eliminate carbs completely, the body is forced to rely more heavily on stress hormones like cortisol to maintain blood sugar. Over time, this can worsen fatigue, disrupt sleep, and even accelerate muscle loss. The solution is not elimination, but selection. The right bread provides slow-burning carbohydrates that release energy gradually. This supports stable blood sugar, reduces the need for excessive insulin, and allows mitochondria, the energy factories of your cells, to function more efficiently. When energy is delivered steadily instead of in spikes, you feel more alert in the morning, more stable through the afternoon, and less exhausted in the evening. Many people are surprised to find that eating the right bread actually improves their energy instead of draining it. That's because the body is no longer riding a roller coaster of highs and crashes. Muscle health also benefits from better bread choices. After 60, muscle loss accelerates if protein intake, insulin sensitivity, and nutrient absorption are compromised. Bread that contains seeds, whole grains, or fermentation byproducts often provides small amounts of plant protein, magnesium, and B vitamins that support muscle function and nerve signaling. When eaten alongside adequate protein, the slow release of carbohydrates helps shuttle amino acids into muscle cells more effectively, supporting maintenance and repair. This becomes especially important for balance, strength, and independence as we age. Another important factor is inflammation. Chronic inflammation is at the root of many age-related conditions, from arthritis to cardiovascular disease to cognitive decline. Refined bread fuels inflammation by triggering immune responses in the gut and overwhelming the body's ability to regulate blood sugar. Better bread choices calm this process. They reduce inflammatory signaling, support the gut barrier, and decrease the burden on the immune system. Over time, this can translate into less joint pain, better mobility, and improved overall comfort in the body. The psychological relationship with food also improves when bread is chosen wisely. Many older adults feel anxious or guilty about eating bread because they've been told it's unhealthy. This stress alone can negatively affect digestion and metabolism. When you understand that bread itself is not the problem and that quality matters more than labels or trends, eating becomes more relaxed and intuitive. Enjoying bread that supports your health instead of harming it creates a positive feedback loop where the body responds with better digestion, better mood, and better energy. Blood sugar stability deserves special attention because it influences nearly every system in the body. Frequent spikes and crashes strain the pancreas, damage blood vessels, and increase the risk of diabetes. Choosing bread that digests slowly keeps glucose levels within a healthier range. This reduces cravings, prevents overeating, and supports long-term metabolic health. Many people notice that when blood sugar stabilizes, they naturally eat less without trying because hunger signals become more accurate. Sleep quality is another area indirectly affected by bread choice. Blood sugar instability can lead to nighttime awakenings, early morning fatigue, and restless sleep. Eating the right type of bread earlier in the day supports stable energy without interfering with nighttime recovery. When cortisol and insulin are not constantly spiking, the nervous system can shift more easily into a restful state at night. Over time, this improves sleep depth and consistency, which further supports brain and heart health. The aging brain is particularly sensitive to oxidative stress and nutrient deficiencies. Bread that contains natural antioxidants, minerals, and fermentation byproducts helps reduce oxidative damage and supports cellular repair processes. B vitamins found in whole and fermented grains play a key role in neurotransmitter production and nerve health. Magnesium supports relaxation and blood vessel function. When these nutrients are missing, the brain becomes more vulnerable to fatigue and decline. Heart rhythm and blood pressure are also influenced by mineral balance. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium must be present in the right proportions. Highly processed bread often disrupts this balance by containing excessive sodium without compensatory minerals. Better bread choices tend to have a more natural mineral profile that supports healthy nerve signaling and muscle contraction, including the heart muscle itself. Another often overlooked benefit of choosing the right bread is digestive efficiency. As stomach acid naturally declines with age, digestion becomes less efficient. Bread that has been fermented or sprouted is partially pre-digested, meaning the body doesn't have to work as hard to extract nutrients. This reduces bloating, discomfort, and nutrient loss. When digestion improves, energy naturally increases because the body is no longer diverting resources to manage digestive stress. Mental clarity, emotional stability, and even motivation are closely tied to blood sugar and nutrient availability. The brain relies on consistent fuel to regulate mood and stress response. When bread choices support stable glucose and provide micronutrients, mood swings become less intense and stress becomes easier to manage. Many people describe feeling calmer and more balanced simply by changing the type of bread they eat. The idea that carbs must be eliminated after 60 often leads people to replace them with excessive fat or protein, which can strain the liver and kidneys over time. A balanced approach that includes the right carbohydrates supports metabolic flexibility, allowing the body to switch between fuel sources efficiently. This flexibility is associated with better longevity outcomes and improved resilience to stress. Choosing the right bread also supports social and cultural enjoyment of food. Bread is part of many traditions, meals, and shared experiences. Removing it completely can lead to feelings of deprivation and isolation. Including bread that aligns with your health needs allows you to enjoy meals without guilt or discomfort. This emotional satisfaction plays a role in overall well-being, which becomes increasingly important with age. Over time, the cumulative effect of better bread choices becomes noticeable. Energy feels steadier, digestion feels calmer, thinking feels clearer, and the body feels more cooperative. These changes don't happen overnight, but they build gradually as the body adapts to reduce stress and improve nourishment. The key is consistency, not perfection. Eating the right bread most of the time creates a foundation that supports long-term health. The body after 60 is not broken. It simply requires a different strategy. Instead of fighting carbohydrates, the goal is to work with them. Bread that respects digestion, blood sugar, and nutrient needs becomes a tool rather than a threat. When chosen wisely, it supports the systems that matter most for aging well, including the brain that thinks, the heart that pumps, and the energy that allows you to live actively and independently. If this video helped you see bread differently, make sure you like it, share it with someone over 60 who still thinks all bread is the same, and subscribe to the channel because we talk about real practical changes that actually make a difference in how you feel every day. And in the next video, I'm going to reveal one common breakfast food that looks healthy but is quietly accelerating aging in people over 60. You don't want to miss that.